Secondly, why did Imam Sajjad alayhi salam mention these places to introduce himself? He already said, I am the Prophet's grandson. He thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Could have said, I am Ali ibn Abi Talib's grandson as well. Why did he mention these specific places and points of sacredness? Number 3, I wanted to focus upon how Imam Sajjad established the message of Karbala and Imam Hussein through Risalatul Hukuk and Sahifa Sajjadiyah. And last but not least, how Imam Sajjad alayhi salam was the embodiment, the physical personification of justice and peace. So to begin, when we find Imam Sajjad saying, I am the son of Makkah and Medina, Makkah and Mina, and Zamzam and Safa. To add a bit of context here, we find that Imam Hussein has been killed in Karbala. The zulm did not stop there. They took the women, the children, Imam Sajjad, through the bazaars of Kufa and Sham. They visited Ibn Ziyad. They came to the apex, the climax, you could say, in Sham itself. For those who don't know, who need a reminder, Sham for over 50 years was under the control of whom? Banu Umayyah, likes of Muawiyah, his forefathers, and they had established their control. So for 50 years, this propaganda, fake news was being spread against the Ahlul Bayt. A prime example of this is when the people of Sham heard Imam Ali alayhi salam has been killed in Kufa in the masjid. The first thing they said was, what was Ali ibn Abi Talib doing in Salah? As in to say, they were fed so much corruption that they thought Imam Ali was not synonymous with Salah. As we know, Imam Ali would pray just in the night alone up to 1,000 rakats. But the Banu Umayyah had infiltrated and indoctrinated the people of Sham for their own use and money and their own propaganda, to state that what? The Ahlul Bayt are not that special. So when the children of Ali ibn Abi Talib are being brought to Sham, it's not a surprise that their women and their children were spitting at the Ahlul Bayt, the likes of Lady Zainab and Kulthum. It's not a surprise that they were throwing hot water and sand and stone and many other things we cannot even mention that they were doing to the Ahlul Bayt as they were going through the bazaars of Kufa and Sham itself. So with this in mind, we see that Imam Sajjad stood there. Initially, Yazid did what he did. He glorified his forefathers. He began disrespecting the holy head of Imam Hussein, which was in front of him. As per the tradition, he had a knife in his hand and he was playing with the holy teeth and hitting the holy lips of Abu Abdullah until they were bleeding. In this context, as it was happening, Imam Sajjad said, now allow me to speak. Give me a chance to give my khutbah. Yazid, Lanatullah alayhi, was very hesitant. He said, I won't allow you to speak. The local people of Sham who were in that court said, why? Allow him to speak. What's the most this young man can do? He can barely stand. As you know, Imam Sajjad was very ill. So if he was very ill and he couldn't even stand, you can only imagine how they forced him to walk from Karbala to Kufa to Sham itself. That's a tragedy of its own. We'll mention it another day. Imam Sajjad is there and he speaks, much to Yazid's reluctance, who says, whenever him and his forefathers speak, the Banu Hashim, they make us, the Banu Umayyah, look down. They've been fed hikmah and wisdom through the milk of their mothers. These aren't ordinary people. Imam Sajjad came to the pulpit. He glorified Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Holy Prophet, and he began saying, I am the son of Makkah and Mina and Zamzam and Safa. To better understand why Imam Sajjad said, I am the son of all of these holy places, let's look at what the position of a father holds. Allow me to explain. We find a tradition of the Holy Prophet, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which states, you have 3 fathers. You don't have one father. You have 3 fathers. The first is whom? Your biological father. The father who gave birth to you. You share your genetics, your biology, your blood with that father. He is your father. The second type of father, Rasulullah says, is your teacher. Which is why I've been to school here. I can see many people here have been to school here or are going to school here. Sometimes you tend to get rude to your teachers here. The culture here is a bit more tolerant in the sense that your teacher tells you to do something, and there's always that class clown who wants to be funny. So he'll try and disrespect the teacher when in fact he's actually disrespecting himself. He's not honoring himself. But if you go to the East, countries like Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Azerbaijan, all the countries in the East, in the Middle East as well, teachers are given more respect. Why? The Sunnah of the Holy Prophet. Your teachers are like your fathers. It doesn't mean, the tradition doesn't say your teacher in Islam, your teacher in maths, even if he's a non-Muslim, give him the respect you would give to your father, because he's giving you ilm. And the Prophet said, seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. Even if you have to go to China. China in that time was not Muslim. There are Muslims there today. No, wherever there is knowledge, go. And the holder of knowledge, whatever it may be, deserves respect. So for example, your driving instructor, he has the knowledge of driving. So show him some respect. Your football coach, seems trivial, but show him some respect. MashaAllah, on Saturdays here we have Taekwondo. Show your Taekwondo teacher respect. In fact, in many Kung Fu and martial arts, what's the first thing you do? You bow down. He's teaching you humility. If you want to shine, you need to first bow yourself down. Don't be like Iblis, Shaitan, who was a believer of Tawheed. La ilaha illallah. Fakat la ilaha illallah. Nothing else. God said, kill that thing inside of you. Bow down to Adam. He said, no. I'll pray to you more, but never to him. So what did God say? Far from me. You are Iblis, away from my kingdom. So the point being humbleness. Second, Rasulullah says your father is your teacher. The third is your father-in-law. Now this one sometimes can be a bit tricky. You may not see eye to eye with your father-in-law. But Rasulullah is saying the third teacher, the third father you have in Islam who deserves great respect is your father-in-law. Let's go a bit further than this. Because we call Imam Hussein in Ziyarat al-Nahiyya, Ziyarat al-Waritha, Ziyarat al-Ashura. What do we call Imam Hussein alayhi salam? Ya Aba Abdullah. Now as you know better than me, in Arab tradition, the oldest son's first name becomes your kunya, your title. Your son is called Ibrahim, you will be called Abu Ibrahim. Your son's called Zuriyab, you will be called Abu Zuriyab. Imam Hussein's oldest son is whom? According to traditions, Imam Sajjad. And he named all of his sons what? Ali. So why don't we say in the ziyarah Abu Ali? Why are you saying Abu Abdullah? Why? You see, always question these things. Try and find a way. There's a way and a reason to everything. Why do we say Abu Abdullah? Another tradition from the Holy Prophet, which says, your father, the Ab, is someone who is the cause for the existence of something. Or he is the reformer of something. Or number three, he is the manifestation of that thing. Allow me to explain. Sometimes today, you see someone and you say, this scientist is the father of modern physics. Einstein is the father of this field of science. That football player is the father of what? Of modern football. Why did you say that? Did he physically create that football? Does he have a blood relation? No. So why are you saying he's the father of that thing? Because he is either the manifestation of it, he holds all of those qualities, and he's the physical embodiment, or he's the reformer of something. Just like when you go to the museum, you see a building built in 1444. But it was reformed in 1954, so we've got a plaque there in honor of the reformer. That reformer is also known as the father, or is someone who is the cause of the existence. Now it makes sense why Imam Sajjad was saying, I am the son of Makkah and Mina and Zamzam and Safa. He didn't say I'm the father of those things. Why? Because I am their inheritor. Imam Hussein is called Abu Abdullah because he's the father of every abd, in the sense that every true submissive servant to Allah. In your salah every day, you say, Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasulahu. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajah. You don't read wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasuluhu wa abdu. You don't say that. Why is abd first? Ubudiyya is a very important concept. Inshallah, and if we have time in the next session, we'll cover this as well. Abduhu wa Rasuluhu. So when we say Aba Abdullah, we mean he is firstly the manifestation of Islam. If it wasn't for Imam Hussein, Islam wouldn't be here. If it wasn't for Imam Hussein, Makkah, Mina, Zamzam, Safa wouldn't be here. Now it makes sense why Imam Sajjad was saying, I am the son of all of these places, because my father is the one who saved these places. Do you want proof? Look at it within the 3 years after the killing of Imam Hussein. Yazid, Lanatullah alayh, sent his forces to Makkah. He ransacked Medina. The tomb of the Holy Prophet was used as a stable for horses. Horses were tied there, fed there, cleaned, washed there. See the disrespect. He went and ransacked Makkah as well. And so they're burning the Holy Kaaba. They're throwing, the catapulting fire, rocks of fire, and as you know, the cloth of the Kaaba is being burnt. Then the time for Zuhr comes, they all stop. They begin praying to that same Kaaba. Once namaz is done, they pick up the stones and begin burning the same Kaaba down. What does that show you? There was form, no substance. Muslim by name only. In the words of the famous scholar, Lebanese scholar Ayatollah Shamsuddin, he says, Islam needed blood for it to survive. Wars were doing nothing. Look at Jamal, Siffin, Nahrawan, Khaybar. In particular, look at Jamal and Siffin. This person is radiyallah. That person is also radiyallah. The qatil and the maqtul will all be in heaven together. So where's God's justice? Battles were doing nothing for Islam. So what was Imam Hussein going to do in Karbala? Why are you taking your women? Why are you taking your daughters? I mentioned this a few weeks ago. If as men, you go to a fight or you go to a, let's say a very heated discussion or something, you know where it's hostile. Who do you call? Your brother, father, uncle? You don't call your sister. Don't call your mother. Don't take your daughters with you. Why? So why was Imam Hussein taking them? He's the Imam of the time. He knows better than us. Because Imam Hussein was not looking to win the battle of Karbala. He wanted to win the war. A big difference. And the proof of Imam Hussein's victory is this. Everywhere in the world you hear Labbaik Ya Hussein. You don't hear Labbaik Ya Yazid. Imam Hussein's victory is in the fact that Islam is still here today. He shook the consciences of the people through his sacrifice to show you that when humanity sinks to its lowest level, then sacrifices are there to revive the religion again, to shake people's minds. How could this have happened? And it's like a domino effect. When you find out who put Yazid into power and then who put him into power, work your way back and you'll see what happened. Imam Hussein said, I know what's going to happen. So I'm going to demask the Banu Umayyah and the propaganda machine that until Judgment Day, you are either Husseini or Yazidi when it comes to Karbala. You can never say he's radiyallah, he's radiyallah. You can't say that. The lovers of Yazid who have tried this have been defamed. They can't show their face anywhere because of Imam Hussein. That's why Imam Sajjad was saying, I am the son of Makkah and Mina wa Zamzam and Safa. He said many more things, but we'll focus on this for today. To show that I am their warith. I am the one who inherited them because of my father there where they are today. But there's another reason. You see, when you inherit from your father, God forbid if your father has passed away, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless their soul. One of the things you inherit from your father is the property, for example. You might inherit his car, his watch, his ring. But you also inherit any spiritual loans he may have, for example. Any qadha salah he may have, or fasting, or hajj, don't you? It becomes wajib upon the oldest son. Your father missed so and so many years of salah, so now you have to make it up. Unless you want to split it up amongst your siblings, you also inherit that. There's a spiritual inheritance as well. We tend to mislook away. Imam Sajjad was highlighting that. Physically, I haven't inherited them. I've inherited them spiritually. And so he was trying to wake up the consciences of the people of Sham. And they say by the end of this khutbah, Yazid was shaking so badly. The same Yazid who was saying, I killed Hussein, look, I'm hitting his head, I can do what I want. I have his sisters in front of me, his daughters in front of me, tied with chains and ropes. I can do what I want. I have killed Hussein. By the end of this khutbah, he began saying, I didn't kill Hussein. It was Shimr, Umar ibn Sa'ad, not me. Even though it was Yazid's ultimate order, he began rejecting this by the end of this khutbah, which was so powerful. Another proof of its powerfulness. He called the muadhin and said, recite the adhan. Even till today, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow all of you to go to Sham for ziyarah. When you go to Sham, in the Masjid Banu Umayyah, the Umayyad mosque, till today, they have 7 muadhins calling the adhan, because Yazid started that off. Why did he start that off? To stop Imam Sajjad's khutbah. He could see people were crying. People were remembering the Rasulullah's traditions. They realized what was wrong. When the muadhin said, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, Imam Sajjad stopped him. He said, stop right there. He turned to Yazid. He said, this Muhammad who's mentioned in this adhan, is he your grandfather or is he mine? If you say he is yours, you are a liar. But if he is mine, then why have you treated us like this? Again, the people started crying even more. By the end of this, he had to send the Ahlul Bayt away into the zindans. Within a few days, they left. But again, it's showing you the power of your words as such. You've heard the funny phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. What's that trying to say? Your words can be powerful. Why? If I break your arm, after a few weeks, it will be better. If you keep it in a cast, you don't move it, you won't feel pain. But if I hurt you with my words, when you go to sleep at night, you remember me. When you wake up in the morning, you remember me. Words have more power than actions. Imam Sajjad alayhi salam was the physical manifestation of that. We go a little further now to our second point. Why did Imam Sajjad say Makkah, Mina, Zamzam, Safa? Could have said many other things. Let's look a bit deeper into this. He said Makkah because Makkah is central to Islam. When you pray 5 times a day minimum, where do you face? Towards Makkah, the Holy Kaaba itself. The proof of Imam Sajjad being the spiritual inheritor of Makkah is from this story. According to this tradition, Hisham, who came later on, he was one of the Banu Umayyah Caliphs. He came for Hajj, and as you know, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow everyone to visit the Kaaba for Hajj or Umrah. When you go there, there's a lot of rush, ijdiham, near the Hajr Aswad. To try and kiss that stone, which is from heaven, there's a lot of rush. You literally have to wrestle 100 people from the right side, 100 from the left side, and when you get in and you're kissing it, there's 200 people behind you pushing you as well. So it's a whole gym workout, okay? You're doing all of this there. When you go to the holy shrines, the daris of Imam Hussein, Imam Rida, it's different. It's much bigger. The Hajr Aswad is much smaller. You have to really get in. Hisham tried to do that. He had his bodyguards with him, the caliph of the time, all the money, the luxury, the bodyguards, the power is with him. But because he was elected, he was not selected by God. He couldn't make his way through. Frustrated, burnt with his jealousy, his ego, he sat back and he began watching. Until he says, I saw a man walk. A young man walked through the Holy Kaaba. And he came to the Hajr Aswad. And just by his presence, the people began moving away themselves. This was Imam Sajjad. He didn't have to push anyone. His spiritual presence was such. He walked, the people moved out themselves. They made way for the Imam. He went in, he kissed it, he began walking around, doing his tawaf. Now, Ibn Hisham here was jealous already. When he saw this, he became even more jealous. Literally on fire, so to speak. His ego was on fire. Someone asked him, do you know who this man is? Hisham knew who he was, but his ego wouldn't let him speak. He said, I don't know this man. I don't know who he is. Farazdak, who was one of the famous poets of the Ahlul Bayt, the lover of the Ahlul Bayt, he heard this. He said, if you don't know who he is, let me remind you. And as the poem says, if he didn't kiss the Hajr Aswad would have kissed his hands. This is that man in front of you there. If he didn't go to say salam to the Hajr Aswad, it would have come to him to say salam. His grandmother is Fatima. His great-grandfather is Rasulullah. His father is Ali. His uncle is Hassan. And his own noble father is Hussein. Farazdak, when Hisham heard this, he turned to Farazdak, he said, recite poetry for me like this as well. my mother, my father. Farazdak said to him, no issue, I'll recite for you as well. But first make your mother like his mother. When your mother's like Fatima and your grandfather's like Rasulullah, I'll recite for you as well. They say now, literally speaking, Hisham, red eyes, hurt even more, jealous. He put Farazdak into prison. And later on, Imam Sajjad brought him out. The point of this account is what? The spiritual inheritor. I don't need bodyguards to walk through. Hisham was elected. Imam Sajjad was divinely selected. A big difference there. We go a bit further. We find Imam Sajjad taking care of the Hujjaj. According to one tradition, he's pouring water for the various caravans which are coming in the tents. One lover of the Ahlul Bayt saw this. He said, Sayyidi, Yabna Rasulullah, why are you doing this? Let me serve you. He wrestled the jug out of Imam Sajjad's hand and the cup, and he began feeding everyone water. Imam Sajjad said, I know you love me, but you shouldn't have done that. Now everyone knows I'm the Prophet's grandson, and they're not going to take water from me. You've stopped me from serving the Hujjaj. Imam Sajjad was very sad. And so much so, he got up, left, and joined another caravan, just so they didn't know who he was, and he could serve them. It shows you, just like when someone comes to your house, what does your father say to you? Oh son, go serve the person who's come to my house. Why? Because you're my inheritor. I'm teaching you because tomorrow you'll be a father, and you have children. So you pass that on. Imam Sajjad was the son of Makkah and Mina because he served those who came there as well. The spiritual inheritor. We go a bit further. I am the son of Zamzam. What's special about Zamzam? You might have heard Zamzam, water. What's special about it? Nabi Ismail, according to the tradition, he hit his foot on the ground as a baby and water began coming out. Till today, that well is known as Zamzam. And that water has special purities in it. It can cure the sick. Many babies, when they're born, parents tend to feed their children Zamzam water first. Why? Because it's holy, it's special. Imam Sajjad is saying, I am the son of Zamzam. If Zamzam can provide you shifa, there's a haq in Karbala which does the same. If not, in my opinion, even more. The haq of Karbala. Any haq you eat, Sheikh Jafar Shushtari mentions this in his Khasais al-Husayniyah. Generally speaking, any haq, if you eat it, is haram upon you. Why? It can damage your health. I'll give you another example. Drinking fizzy drinks, per se, now the parents might not like me for saying this, is not bad. 1 can of Pepsi or so on is okay. But if you drink 100 in one day, that becomes haram. Why? It can affect your health. Anything in excess can affect your health. Eating any haq is haram, except for the haq of Karbala. Why? Because the blood of Rasulullah is in this. How is the blood of Rasulullah in that haq? Because he said, Hussein is from me, wa ana min Hussein. I am from Hussein. Have the same blood, same origins. Inshallah, we'll cover that another time. So the point is what? I am the son of Zamzam, Imam Sajjad is saying. Zamzam can cure the sick, it can provide all these great blessings. So can the haq of my father Hussein in Karbala. And finally he says, I am the son of Safa, as in Safa and Marwa, which the Holy Quran says. That Safa and Marwa are what? Min sha'irillah. It's the sign of God. Why? What's special about Safa and Marwa? What's so special about it that when we go for Umrah or Hajj, we have to run 7 times in between or walk 7 times in between as well? We're following the sunnah of Lady Hajra, who when she was running for water for her son Ismail, she would run from one mountain to the other. Because when she would get to Safa, she would look back to Marwa, and in the desert, there was a mirage. Mirage meaning she could see some waves, and she thought that it was water, when in fact it was the heat waves. So she would run back. She did this 7 times. The Quran says that is a sign of Allah. We've honored Lady Hajar. We've made that one of the components of your Hajj and in your Umrah. But Imam Sajjad is saying, I am the son of Safa and Marwa. What is he trying to say? Again, relating it back to Imam Hussein. You know, when you put on the ihram, you know better than me. Many things become haram upon you. You can't be with your wife, you can't perfume yourself, you can't cut your skin, your nails, and so on and so forth. Many things you cannot do. And then those Hujjaj go to where? Arafah on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, according to tradition, says though, no. On the day of Arafah, before my rahmah goes, my mercy goes to those in Arafat, it goes first to Karbala. Why? Because Hussein is also one of the signs of God. If God can honor Lady Hajar because she just ran in between for a prophet of God, Ismail, having complete trust in Allah, then the land of Karbala is no less. Why? Because Hussein sacrificed himself for the religion of Allah as well. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has honored the land of Hussein too. Which is why, according to this beautiful tradition, Allah says, I look at the zawar of Hussein first, and then I look with mercy at those Hajis or Hujjaj in Arafat. And so as we finish off, we mention Risalatul Hukuk Sahifa Sajadiyah. Again, this applies to me first and foremost, where Imam Sajad has compiled this magnificent treaty where he mentions, for example, supplications to God, Sahifa Sajadiyah. Risalatul Hukuk, he mentions the right, not of your neighbors, so-and-so. He first starts with yourself. The right of your eyes. We normally bypass this. No, your eyes have a right upon you. You should use it to not do haram. Your tongue has a right upon you, your ears, your hand, your feet. Because on Judgment Day, Yawm ad-Din. We don't say Malik al-Layl ad-Din. Why do you say Yawm ad-Din? Is there going to be a sun there? Is there going to be a physical day like the earth? No. So why do you say in your Surah Fatiha, Yawm ad-Din? Scholars here say because on that day, everything will be clear, like the day. In the day, everything is clear. And what that means is the tongues will be sealed and your body parts will speak. These hands were used to do so and so. The eyes were used to do so and so. Your body parts will be given the ability to speak and give witness accounts. I finish with this last point before we go to some words. And again, I say some words of tragedy. We'll never be able to understand the tragedy of Imam Sajjad. An example of forbearance. When Mukhtar, may Allah bless his soul, started his uprising, wherever he found the killers of Imam Hussein, no question. He would first narrate and ask them, what did you do to Hussein? Tell me everything. And they say sometimes he would cry so much, he would fall unconscious. And his friends would have to bring water, throw it onto his face, wake him up, Mukhtar, wake up. Then he would begin his questioning again. One man ran away. He was eventually caught, but he ran away from Sham all the way to Medina. Imam Sajjad was praying in his khayma. As it was the desert area on the outskirts of Medina, this man was so dehydrated. He couldn't even knock on the khayma, for permission, idhn al-dukhul. He couldn't do that. He just fell through it. Imam Sajjad saw this man, picked him up, brought him in, placed his head onto his lap. And this man began, he could feel someone's got my head in his lap, but he can't speak. So dehydrated, he can't even speak. He pointed, I need some water. He just pointed to his lips, I need some water. Imam Sajjad, with his own hands, fed this man water. After a few sips of water, he began gesturing, I need some food now, bread, something. Imam Sajjad, with his own hands, began feeding him bread, some food. Now he had enough energy to open his eyes. Open his eyes, he looked into the eyes of Imam Sajjad. He quickly took out his scarf and covered his face. Got up, Imam Sajjad went back to his musalla, began praying. Imam Sajjad didn't say a word to him. He said, O man of God, O Bandai Khuda, if you knew who I was, you wouldn't have done this. And he left. Imam Sajjad did not say a single word, but he wanted a reaction, so he came back. O man of God, if you knew who I was, you wouldn't have treated me like this. Imam Sajjad stayed silent. When he did this the third time, Imam Sajjad looked to him and said, how can I ever forget your face? You are Hussein ibn Numair. You killed my brother Ali Akbar. I remember you very well from Karbala. He said, then why didn't you take your revenge? You could have killed me. Why did you feed me water? Why did you give me food? Imam Sajjad replied, because in Karbala, in Kufa, in Sham, me and my mothers, my sisters, my daughters, We were your guest, and you did what you did to me, and you did what you did to us. Today in Medina, however, you are my guest. There's a big difference between me and you. I follow the seerah of Rasulullah. Imagine that was your brother's killer. Someone who killed your brother. Throughout the bazaars and darbars of Kufa and Sham, he tortured your sisters, your mother in front of you. He pulled your chain. He was beating your women in front of you, carrying the head of your brother on the spear. And now it's your turn to do whatever you want. What would you and me do? But we're not like Imam Sajad. It is narrated Imam Sajad would cry so much. Whenever water would be brought in front of him, he would cry. Whenever food would be brought into him, he would cry. He would go to the bazaars, to the butcher shop, and say to them, before you killed the sheep or this camel, did you feed it water? They said, of course we fed it water. He said, when you killed it, did you make sure the other animals were not watching? They said, of course, we know the sunnah of Rasulullah. He said, when you killed this animal, do you know Islamically you have to kill it from the front of the neck, so it doesn't feel pain? They said, of course, we know the law of Allah. Imam Sajjad would turn towards Karbala. Oh my ghareeb, my madhloom father. When you were being killed, my aunt Zainab was watching. And he wouldn't just cut your neck from the front, he would cut you from the back as well, whilst you were thirsty. Oh my father, what did you go through? As this was happening, Minhal, one of his companions, said to him, oh grandson of the Prophet, I'm scared you will die. You cry so much. Stop crying. Imam Sajjad said, oh Minhal, you've done injustice to me. Yaqub lost one son, Yusuf. And in the Quran, it says he cried so much his eyes turned white. Minhal, I lost 18 members of my family. How can I not cry? He said, but Yabna Rasulullah, Shahada is your wirasat. It's in your blood. You've inherited this. So why do you keep crying? He said, Minhal, Shahada, yes, is in my blood. I've inherited this. But seeing my mothers and my sisters taken to the bazaars and the courts, was this also my inheritance? Do justice to me, O Minhal. And so we find Imam Sajjad being dragged through Kufa and Sham. When he reached Sham, the people of Sham asked him, why are you wearing a red shirt? Are you from the Banu Umayyah? He said, the shirt was not red when I left Karbala. They said, what do you mean? He said, I need a cloth to put between the zanjeer in my neck and my skin. By God, the zanjeer and its spikes has gone into my skin so much. My shirt, white shirt, has now become red because of my blood. And so they dragged him through the bazaars. They would stone him whenever they wanted. They would throw hot coals onto his head. Imam Sajjad himself narrates, one piece of coal fell into my imama and it began burning my head and my skin. I kept asking the people, help me, because my hands are tied. But they would laugh at me and throw dates upon me. And so Imam Sajjad was dragged and taken back to Medina. When he came back to Medina, his uncle Muhammad Hanafiya came to meet him. He said, where is my brother Hussein? Imam Sajjad said, my uncle, my father was killed thirsty in Karbala. He said, where was Abbas? He said, oh my uncle Abbas, they cut off his right hand, they cut off his left hand, he had an arrow in one eye, they killed my uncle Abbas as well. Muhammad Hanafiya said, I ask you one last question. If Hussein was killed, if Abbas was killed, when they left Medina, they took my sisters with them. What happened to Zainab and Kulthum? Imam Sajjad began to cry, oh my uncle Muhammad Hanafiya, the likes of Zainab had to go to the darbar of Yazid in Sham. When Muhammad Hanafiya heard this, he cried so much, the narration says he fell off his horse. Imam Sajjad picked him up. He said, my uncle, wake up, let's go home together. I'll tell you what else happened. We'll cry together. He said, why do you keep calling me uncle? I don't recognize you. Imam Sajjad said, oh uncle, it's me, your nephew, Ali ibn al-Hussein. I'm your nephew, you don't recognize me. He said, oh Sajjad, you are 24 years of age. Why has your beard gone white? Why is your back like this? He said, my uncle, you heard Zainab went to the Darbar and the bazaars of Kufa and Sham, and you fell off your horse. I had to see it with my own eyes. Ask me what I saw. When he heard this, he tried to hug Imam Sajjad. He tried to put his arms into the neck of Imam Sajjad. Imam Sajjad stopped him and said, my uncle, calm down, wait. My neck is still bruised. I'm still going through a lot of pain. But I finish with these last words. When it was the final moments of Imam Sajjad, he's on his deathbed. Imam Baqir says, I saw him like this, so I came near my father for his final wasiyah, and I put my chest onto the chest of my father. I put my arms around his neck, and I saw my father cry like I've never seen him cry in 34 years. I said, my father, why'd you cry like this? What masibah have you remembered now? He said, my son Baqir, it's my final moments, and you're sitting on my chest. When it was the final moments of my father in Karbala, I remember it was the likes of Shimmer sitting on his chest. My aunt Zainab was there crying, wa musibata, wa ghurbata, wa Muhammada, wa Aliya, wa Husseina, wa Husseina, wa Husseina. ألا لعنة الله القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the right of Imam Sajjad, by his blood-ridden tears, by the musibah he saw and witnessed, to accept our humble offering, to forgive us of our sins, to protect us and our families, to allow us to do the ziyarah of Imam Sajjad in Jannatul Baqi, and to allow us to be with Imam Sajjad in this world and the hereafter. For the love of Imam Zain al-Abidin, can we recite aloud salawat?
Ahsantum Tayyiballah. Special thanks to our dearest guest, respected lecturer, brother Sayyid Zuriyab. May Allah bless him and keep him on the flag of Ahl Bayt in this world and next world. انشاءالله در این قسمت برنامه استفاده میکنیم از بیانات خطیب توانا صلی حضرت زهرا حجت الاسلام و المسلمین حاج آقای حیدری تا تشریف فرمایشان بالای منبر. لطف فرمایید 3 صلوات غرا بر محمد و آل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. شهادت امام زین العابدین علی ابن الحسین علیهم الصلاة والسلام، چهارمین امام همام و پیشوای مؤمنین و مؤمنات و مسلمین را به ساحت مقدس امام عصر علیه السلام تسلیت عرض می کنیم. دقایق بسیار مختصر درباره شخصیت و پیرامون امام سجاد علیه السلام عرایضی را محضر شما برادران و خواهران عرضه بدارم. یک تشبیه بین امیر المؤمنین و آقا علی ابن الحسین علیهم السلام محضر شما عرضه بدارم. امام علی ابن الحسین علیهم السلام شباهتی خاصی به جدشان امیر المؤمنین علی ابن ابی طالب علیهم السلام دارد. در بین اولاد امام حسین علیه السلام یعنی خود حضرت فرمود خدا اگر هزاران تا فرزند عنایت کند اسم پسریشون را میگذارم علی، اگر دختر عنایت کند اسمشون را میگذارم فاطمه سلام الله علیها. ببینین آقا علی اکبر علیه السلام شباهت دارد به کی؟ به پیغمبر خدا. اشبه الناس خلقا و خلقا و منطقا به رسول الله. یعنی حضرت علی اکبر علیه السلام شباهت دارد از جهت اخلاق، از جهت خلق، از جهت خلقت و از جهت سخن گفتن به پیغمبر خدا. ولکن علی ابن الحسین یعنی امام زین العابدین علیه السلام شباهت خاص و ویژه به امیر المؤمنین علی علیه السلام دارد. چرا؟ تنها شباهت از جهت قیافه نیست، تنها شباهت از جهت خلقت نیست، یعنی از تمام جهت وقت ما فکر میکنیم آقا علی ابن الحسین علیه السلام شباهت خاص و ویژه دارد. شما نگاه کنید امیر المؤمنین علی علیه السلام که جای تأسف است، امیر المؤمنین علی علیه السلام وصی و جانشین پیغمبر، یعنی کار عیب نیست، تلاش عیب نیست، کوشش کردن عیب نیست، اما وقت انسان از دریای علوم وحی میتواند بیشتر و بهتر استفاده کند این حرف است. امیر المؤمنین علی علیه السلام باید خانه نشین شود، رسما خانه نشین شود، کنار زده شود و حضرت بیل به دست بگیرد، روزها برود این باغستانها را درست کند، قناتها را درست کند و شبم خدمت شما عرض شود که 1000 رکعت نماز بخواند. در احوالات امام زین العابدین علی علیه السلام همین قصه نقل شده است. محضر امام صادق علیه السلام مشرف شدن، عرضه داشتن یا ابن رسول الله آیا بعد از امیر المؤمنین علی علیه السلام کسی آمده باشد که بیاید شبها 1000 رکعت نماز بخواند و روزها برود امور فقرا را به دست بگیرد؟ امام باقر علیه السلام و امام صادق علیه السلام میفرماید بعد از جدم امیر المؤمنین علی علیه السلام آقا زین العابدین علی علیه السلام بود که آمد، یعنی در شبانگاهی 1000 رکعت نماز میخواند. همونطوری که امیر المؤمنین علی علیه السلام در دوران خلافتشان یعنی خلافت 4 سال و نیم تمام زمام امور به دست و از اون طرف رسیدگی به فقرا یک طرف، تا زمانی که حضرت امیر المؤمنین به شهادت نرسیده هیچ کس نمیدانست که این غذا را کی می آورد. امام زین العابدین علی ابن الحسین علیهم السلام همینطور، یعنی حدود 100 خانوار بلکه بیشتر امام زین العابدین شبانگاهی غذای اونها را می برد. انگامی که امام زین العابدین به شهادت رسید از دنیا رفت، مردم اون زمان متوجه شد اون آقایی که هر شب غذا را می آورد کسی نبود در این عالم جز علی ابن الحسین علیهم السلام. مسئله دوم، شجاعت، تشبیه به شجاعت. یعنی امیر المؤمنین علی علیه السلام میفرماید طوری در مقابل ظالمین و غاصبین صبر کردم که خار در چشم استخوان در گلو. امام زین العابدین علی ابن الحسین علیه السلام یک روزی نشسته بودن، شخصی از بنی هاشم آمد به امام زین العابدین جسارت کرد، توهین کرد. همه گفتن باید جواب او را بدیم. امام زین العابدین علی ابن الحسین علیه السلام فرمود به اصحابشون که الان بریم در خانه این فرد. خب همه حرکت کردن، دیدن که امام علیه السلام این آیه را میخواند: الذین ينفقون فی السراء والضراء والکاظمین الغیظ والعافین عن الناس. میگه رفتیم با امام علیه السلام در کجا؟ در خانه این شخص. وقتی در قلباب شد، دیدن که این شخص آمد. این آقا فکر کرد که امام آمده است که انتقام بگیرد. همین که یک نگاهی کرد، فرمودن ای برادر، چند دقیقه قبل آمدی حرفهای را به من نسبت دادی. اگر در وجود من هست خدا مرا ببخشد، اگر نیست خدا تو را ببخشد. میگه تا این جمله را، این برخورد را این فرد دید، میگوید امام را در بغل گرفت، صدا زد: الله اعلم حیث یجعل رسالته. خدا میداند که رسالت را در چه خانواده‌ای قرار بدهد. صدا زد: یا ابن رسول الله، آنچه را که گفتم در وجود شما نبود بلکه در وجود خودم بود. من سزاوارتر بودم نسبت به اون مسئله. ولکن شما نگاه کنید، اگر یک کسی شما را نهایتاً اذیت کند، بهتون جسارت کند، توهین کند، شما چه کار میکنید؟ روزی که قدرت هم به دست شما باشد. یک شخصی در دوران هشام ابن عبدالملک لعنت الله علیه حاکم مدینه بود، امام را خیلی اذیت کرد. ناگهان رابطه اش با حاکم زمان به هم خورد. هشام ابن عبدالملک دستور داد چیکار کنید؟ او را به درخت ببندید، هر کس که دل پری از او دارد، دل ناخوش دارد، به او توهین کند. وقتی امام با خبر شد، صدا زد به اصحابشون، فرمودن دنبال انتقام نباشید، نروید. بعد امام علیه السلام رفت به این شخص گفت ناراحت نباش، من وساطت میکنم به هشام ابن عبدالملک که تو را آزاد کند. وقتی وساطت کرد، او آزاد شد. این شخص آمد، صدا زد: یا ابن رسول الله، من به فکر این بودم اگر تمام مردم مدینه مرا اذیت نکند، شما و اصحابتون مرا اذیت میکنید. از بس که نسبت به شما من بدی کردم، ولکن دیدم برخورد شما عکس قضیه بود، برعکس بود. امام زین العابدین علی ابن الحسین علیه السلام شباهت عجیب دارد به جدشون امیر المؤمنین. امیر المؤمنین علی علیه السلام در میدان شجاعت یا شجاعت یعنی شجاعت ترین انسانهای روی زمین بود. در بحث عبادت عابدترین افراد بود. در بحث تقوا امین طور امام زین العابدین علی ابن الحسین علیه السلام در بحث شجاعت وقتی میرسد، در مقابل یزید چنان خطبه میخواند که تمام نقشه های او را بر آب میکند. اما پیغمبر خدا فرمودند درباره این که چرا امام زین العابدین را زین العابدین میگوید، یعنی زینت عبادت کنندگان، نه زینت ما بلکه زینت عبادت کنندگان مثل آدم علیه السلام، مثل ایوب پیغمبر، مثل موسی پیغمبر، مثل عیسی پیغمبر. امام زین العابدین علی ابن الحسین علیه السلام زینت اینهاست که در روز قیامت وقت ندا میدهد این زین العابدین، این سید الساجدین، همه میگویند کیست؟ کس نیست در عالم قیامت، عالم برزخ، جز امام زین العابدین علی ابن الحسین علیهم السلام. پس چند تا جمله را ما عرض کردیم. شباهت علی ابن الحسین به امیر المؤمنین از جهت عبادت، از جهت رسیدگی به فقرا، از جهت شجاعت و از جهت تقوا و از جهت زهد و تقوای امام علیه السلام. عرضم تمام، بیش از این مصدع نشوم. انشاءالله دوستان بتوانند بیشتر مدیح سرایی کنند، دوستان عزاداری کنند. جملاتی از امام زین العابدین علی ابن الحسین علیهم السلام است که در مجلس یزید ملعون امام علیه السلام خواندن که آقای زوریا حفظه الله به اون اشاره کرد. ما هم انشاءالله گوشه های او را میخوانیم، فقرات از اون خطبه امام زین العابدین در مجلس یزید وقت امام علیه السلام ایراد میکند که همه را متعجب میسازد. نظر اونها را نسبت به یزید کاملا برعکس میکند، نسبت به خود و خانواده پیغمبر مثبت میسازد. صلی الله علیک یا مولای یا ابا عبدالله، صلی الله علیک یا مولای یا ابا عبدالله. سبحان الله. از امام سجاد سوال کردن آقا کدام مصیبت بر شما سخت بود؟ امام فرمود الشام الشام الشام. الله الله. وقت وارد مجلس یزید شدن، نانجیب تمام سفرای عالم را جمع کردن، آمدن برای این که بگوید ما خارجی ها را کشتیم، اهل بیتش را اسیر کردیم. الله اکبر. دیدن یک جوان هنوزم غل و زنجیر بر بدنش. خطیب نانجیب رفت خطبه خواند. امام اجازه گرفت، اجازه بده منم چند دقیقه صحبت کنم. یزید اجازه نمیده. چرا؟ گفت به خدا قسم اگر این آقا برد بیچاره میشیم. بالاخره مردم اصرار کرد. امام رفت خطبه را خوان، فرمود پس از حمد و ثنای الهی صدا زد ایها الناس اعطینا ستا و فضلنا بالسبع. اعطینا العلم والحلم والسماحة والفصاحة والشجاعة والمحبة في قلوب المؤمنين، وفضلنا بأن منا النبي المختار محمد، ومنا الصديق، ومنا الطيار، ومنا أسد الله وأسد رسوله، ومنا السبط هذه الأمة. من عرفني فقد عرفني، ومن لم يعرفني يعرفني. نبأته بحسبي ونسبي، بحسبي ونسبي. فرمودن مردم ایها الناس، خدا 6 چیز به ما عطا کرد. چه بود؟ من فرزند مکه هستم، من فرزند زمزمم، من فرزند صفا هستم. تمام اینها را امام علیه السلام برای اینها بیان کرد. بعد صدا زد مردم، اونایی که مرا میشناسد که هیچ، میدانید من کیم؟ من فرزند پیغمبرم، من فرزند امیر المؤمنینم، من فرزند برادر جعفر طیارم، عمویم جعفر طیاره. مردم من فرزند حسینم، من فرزند زهرایم. یه دفعه دیدن خطیب نانجیب رفت بالای مأذنه، صدا زد الله اکبر. امام فرمود خدا بزرگ است، هیچ کس نمیتواند او را توصیف کند. صدا زد اشهد ان لا اله الا الله، صدا زد پوست و خونم شهادت میده خدای جز الله نیست. صدا زد اشهد ان محمد رسول الله، صدا زد شهادت میدم جدم پیغمبر فرستاده خدا. سبحان الله. چرا او که شهادت میده خدای جز الله نیست، شهادت به وحدانیت خدا میده، شهادت به رسالت پیغمبر میده. صدا زد یک یهودی بلند شد، صدا زد یزید بگو حسین کیه؟ پدرش کی بود؟ جدش کی بود؟ صدا زد حسین فرزند پیغمبر. صدا زد مگر از پیغمبر شما فرزندم مونده است؟ بله. صدا زد این یهودی خدا لعنتت کنه یزید، به خدا قسم اگر از موسی پیغمبر اولاد میمان روی چشم ما جا داشت. آخ دیروز پیغمبر شما مرد، اما امروز فرزندش را کشتید. آخ صدا زد به خدا در تورات خوندم کسی که حسین را بکشد او ملعون ابدا. صدا زد او را بکشید، اما دیدن صدا زد سر حسین را بالای در بزن. یه دفعه دیدن امسر یزید وارد شد با سر برهنه. چرا؟ صدا زد ظالم شنیدم حسین را کشتی، اهل بیتش را اسیر کردی. اما یه دفعه دیدن نانجیب با چوب خیزران با کی بر لب و دندان حسین، حسین آرام جانم، حسین
حسین آرام جانم، حسین روح و روانم، سری به نیزه بلند است در برابر زینب، خدا کند که نباشد سر برادر زینب، خدا کند که نباشد سر برادر زینب. جانم حسین، جانم حسین، ماشاءالله ای جان جانان، همه بگن جانم حسین جانم. همین جوری که ذکر میگی صفای سینه زنی را مرتب کن. جانان یه بار دیگه، جانم حسین، جانم حسین، ای جان جان بلا نبینی، جانم حسین، جانم حسین، ای جان جانانم حسین، ای جان جانانم حسین. امان از شام، امان از شام، ذکر امام سجاد بود. امان از شام، 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 همه امان از شام، 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 روزه در یک کلام، امان از شام، درد بی التیام، امان از شام، کاش مادر مرا نمیزایی، ناله های مدام، امان از شام، 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 امان از شام. شام تیر روی تیر، دم بدم میبارد، تیر روی تیر، دم بدم میبارد، سنگ روی سنگ پشت هم میبارد، بر زمین آیه های نور زیر دست و پا، واویلا، بر زمین آیه های نور زیر دست و پا، واویلا، شمر بر سینه حسین پا نهاده، یا الله، خواهرم میزند صدا و مصیبتا، یا جدا، این حسین توس گشت غرق خون، یا جدا، و مصیبتا و محمدا و محمدا 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 تیر روی تیر دم بدم می بارد سنگ روی سنگ پشت هم می بارد بر زمین آیه های نور زیر دست و پا و ویلا شمر بر سینه حسین پا نهاده یا الله خواهرم میزند صدا و مصیبتا یا جدا خواهرم میزند صدا و مصیبتا یا جدا و مصیبتا و محمدا و محمدا و مصیبتا و محمدا و مصیبتا و محمدا و محمدا و مصیبتا و محمدا و محمدا لشکری انبود صف به صف می آیند نیزه داران از هر طرف می آیند تا ختند اسب بر تن اطهر حسین و ویلا میبرند کهنه جامه را از بر حسین و ویلا هم نگاهی بر خیمه هایش دارد هم به سقای با وفایش دارد یا اخا بی تو خیمه ها گشت بی پناه و ویلا و مصیبتا و محمدا و محمدا و مصیبتا و محمدا و محمدا همه بگن و مصیبتا و محمدا و محمدا یا اخا بی تو خیمه ها گشت بی پناه و ویلا بعد تو پشت من شکست خواهرت گسست و ویلا اجرت بابا عبدالله با ویلا غربتم دیدنی شده بین قتل و گاه با ویلا و محمدا و علیا یا زهرا و مصیبتا و محمدا و محمدا و مصیبتا و محمدا و محمدا و مصیبتا و محمدا و مصیبتا و محمدا و محمدا خواهرش دایم اشک غم می بارد از گلوی او بوسه بر می دارد می دوید مضطر از حرم تا به قتل و گاه و ویلا می شنید بین موج خون هل معین شاه و ویلا میزند صدا یا جدا و محمدا و علیا و مصیبتا و محمدا و محمدا و مصیبتا و محمدا و وا محمدا، یک بار دیگر وا محمدا، وا محمدا، وا محمدا.
اجر همگی شما عزیزان با خود آقا ابا عبدالله حسین. لطف کنید روی پا بایستید. سینه زنی سنگین است. انشاءالله 40 کربلای معلا باشی. صلوات محمدی پسند ختم. دل سودا زده ام ناله و فریاد کند، هر زمان یاد غم حضرت سجاد کنند. بیگمان اشک به رخسار بریزد از چشم، هر که یادی ز غم آن شه عباد کند. یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد. از ته دل بگم همه با هم یا سجاد. اگه حلقه جلو درست کنین عزیزان. یا سجاد. همه با هم یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد. همه بگن یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد. ناله و آتشا بر جگرش می افتاد، ناله و آتشا بر جگرش می افتاد. آب می دید به یاد قمرش می افتاد، آب می دید به یاد قمرش می افتاد. ناله و آتشا بر جگرش می افتاد، ناله و آتشا بر جگرش می افتاد. آب می دید به یاد قمرش می افتاد، آب می دید به یاد قمرش می افتاد. شیرخوار بغل تازه عروسی می دید، شیرخوار بغل تازه عروسی می دید. یاد لالایی رباب و پسر می افتاد، یاد لالایی رباب و پسر می افتاد. یا سجاد یا سجاد ماشاءالله. یا سجاد یا ماشاءالله. یا سجاد یا سجاد
یا سجاد. درد بسیار و مداوا گریه، درد بسیار و مداوا گریه. ارث جامانده زهرا گریه، ارث جامانده زهرا گریه. روزها ناله و شبها گریه، روزها ناله و شبها گریه. آب میخورد ولی با گریه، آب میخورد ولی با گریه. گریه بر آب وضویش میریخت، گریه بر آب وضویش میریخت. خون دل بر سر رویش میریخت. یا سجاد یا سجاد
یا سجاد
یا سجاد.
ماشاءالله. یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد جلوی پای سکینه دم دروازه شهر جلوی پای سکینه دم دروازه شهر از روی نیزه علمدار سرش می افتاد از روی نیزه علمدار سرش می افتاد می شکست آینه صبر و غرورش را نیز می شکست آینه صبر و غرورش را نیز تا به جان اسرا با کمرش می افتاد تا به جان اسرا با کمرش می افتاد یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد
یا سجاد
همه بگن یا سجاد
جان گریه بر شاه شهیدان خوب است گریه بر شاه شهیدان خوب است گریه بر کشته اوریان خوب است گریه بر دامن طفلان خوب است گریه بر دامن طفلان خوب است گریه بر آن لب دندان خوب است گریه بر آن لب دندان خوب است خواسته هر سحرش گریه کند خواسته هر سحرش گریه کند در فراق پدرش گریه کند در فراق پدرش گریه کند یا سجاد
یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد روزه گم شدن و دفن رقیه میخوان روزه گم شدن و دفن رقیه میخوان تا به صحرا و خراب نظرش میافتاد تا به صحرا و خراب نظرش میافتاد شیرخوار بغل تازه عروسی میدید شیرخوار بغل تازه عروسی میدید یاد لالایی رباب و پسر میافتاد یاد لالایی رباب و پسر میافتاد ناله واعتشا بر جگرش میافتاد ناله واعتشا بر جگرش میافتاد آب میدید به یاد قمرش میافتاد آب میدید به یاد قمرش میافتاد یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد
آن که راه است بیاده نکشید آن که راه است بیاده نکشید تشنه لب بر لب باده نکشید تشنه لب بر لب باده نکشید طفل را این همه ساده نکشید طفل را این همه ساده نکشید زبر را آب نداده نکشید زبر را آب نداده نکشید هیچ کس آب به گودال نبرد هیچ کس آب به گودال نبرد پدرم زبر شد و آب نخورد یا سجاد
یا سجاد یا سجاد همه بگن یا سجاد یا سجاد با دلی خون شده میگفت الشام الشام با دلی خون شده میگفت الشام الشام تا به بازار مدینه گذرش میافتاد تا به بازار مدینه گذرش میافتاد جلوی پای سکینه دم دروازه شهر جلوی پای سکینه دم دروازه شهر، از روی نیزه علمدار سرش می افتاد، از روی نیزه علمدار سرش می افتاد، از روی نیزه علمدار سرش می افتاد. یا سجاد
یا سجاد
ماشاءالله، یا سجاد
یا سجاد. بر مشامم میرسد هر لحظه بوی کربلا، بر مشامم میرسد هر لحظه بوی کربلا، بر دلم ترسم بماند آرزوی کربلا، بر دلم ترسم بماند آرزوی کربلا. تشنه روی حسینم ای اجل مهلت بده، تشنه روی حسینم ای اجل مهلت بده، تا بگیرم در بغل قبر شهید کربلا، تا بگیرم در بغل قبر شهید کربلا. یا سجاد یا سجاد
یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد یا ای که گفتی دردمندان را مداوا می کنی، ای که گفتی دردمندان را مداوا می کنی، ما که مردیم تا به کی، ما که مردیم تا به کی امروز و فردا می کنی، یا بکش یا چاره کن ای دردمندان را طبیب، یا بکش یا چاره کن ای دردمندان را طبیب، تا به کی، تا به کی جان کندن ما را تماشا می کنی، تا به کی جان کندن ما را تماشا می کنی. یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد یا سجاد
وای امان وای امان وای امان از دل زینب، وای امان موکنان موی کنان غافله ای میرسد شهر، کو بغل باز کند کرب و بلا خیل بلا را، کاروانی رسد شام به قربانگهی خوبان، کاروانی رسد شام به قربانگهی خوبان، از گلوهای بریده بیشونوبان که در آرا، وای امان وای امان وای امان از دل زینب، وای امان پرده گوشی فلک پاره شد آدم که شنیدیم، جیون اردگه یاد حرم آل عبارا، به تسلی نخروشید کسی در غم ایشان، غیر ناخون که خراشید رخ آن او سرارا، وای امان وای امان وای امان از دل زینب،
وای امان وای امان دل زینب.
همه چون برگ خزانی که فرو ریزد و افتد همه چون برگ خزانی که فرو ریزد و افتد یک سر از ناق فتادن مزار شهدا را دختری داد سر خاک پدر داده ازارا دختری داد سر خاک پدر داده ازارا مادری ریخ سر قبر پسر اشک جگرگون وای امان وای امان
It is narrated from Imam Ali alayhi salam that his son Imam Hussein, Sayyid al-Shuhada, came to him once when he was young and said, I am better than you, father. Imam Ali asked, how, son? Imam Hussein said, my grandfather is Muhammad, my father is Ali, my mother is Fatima. I have a brother like Al-Hassan. I have a sister like Zainab. Ya Hussein, you also have a loyal brother like Al-Abbas and children like Ali and companions like no other. السلام عليك يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. Light of my heart, apple of my eye, life of my soul, soul of my life, light of my heart, apple of my eye. No one is oppressed as you. No one is as loved as you. Light of my heart, apple of my eye, life of my soul, soul of my life, light of my heart, apple of my eye. No one is oppressed as you. No one is as loved as you. Light of my heart, apple of my eye, life of my soul, soul of my life, light of my heart, apple of my eye. No one is oppressed as you. No one is as loved as you. Light of my heart, apple of my eye, life of my soul, soul of my life, light of my heart, apple of my eye. No one is oppressed as you. No one is as loved as you. I cry tears of love when I remember you, Imam. No one is oppressed as you. No one is as loved as you. Right from the start, your story crushed my heart. Now I live to be with you. Your path is mine too. Light of my heart, apple of my eye, life of my soul, soul of my life, light of my heart, apple of my eye. No one is oppressed as you. No one is as loved as you. Under the cloak, yours is the firmest rope, held on shoulders of praise. Your praise teaches the way, illuminating truth. exposing falsehood, protected with your lives. Your lives are sanctified. Light of my heart, apple of my eye, life of my soul, soul of my life. Light of my heart, apple of my eye. No one is oppressed as you, no one is as loved as you. I ransom my soul, I'm ready to give it all. I aim to follow you, I want to be with you. Excruciating pain as your loved ones were slain. Your patience is so great, love for you innate. Light of my heart, apple of my eye, life of my soul, soul of my life. Light of my heart, apple of my eye. No one is oppressed as you, no one is as loved as you. Friend of your friend, enemy of your enemy, I'm here to answer your call. I'm here to fight in your war. I wish I was there to put my life ahead, shield you from any harm, and give my life instead. Light of my heart, apple of my eye, life of my soul, soul of my life. Light of my heart, apple of my eye. No one is oppressed as you, no one is as loved as you. Am I worthy of your love? Is my heart pure enough to hold memories inside of the one who exchanged it all? Invite me, O Master, aboard your ship of salvation, and count me as your helper on the day of resurrection. Light of my heart, apple of my eye, life of my soul, soul of my life. Light of my heart, apple of my eye. No one is oppressed as you, no one is as loved as you.
بر محبت محمد صلوات. ای خدا آشنایم، ظاهر کربلایم. ای خدا آشنایم، ظاهر کربلایم. بر لبم ذکر لبیک کرده یا رب صدایم. تو خدای نی من گدای حسینم. تو خدای من گدای حسینم. ای خدا آشنایم، ظاهر کربلایم. بر لبم ذکر لبیک کرده یا رب صدایم. آشنای غریبم، رفت صبر و شکیبم. حق ارباب عطشان کربلا کن زیبم. نیستم من غریبم، آشنای حسینم. تو خدای حسینی من گدای حسینم. تو خدای حسینی حسینم. آمده رو سیاهی، آمده رو سیاهی، با امیدی نگاهی یک نگاه رحیمی سوی غرق گناهی تا سحر ناله دارم خاک پای حسینم تو خدای حسینی بر محل والا بیت محمد صلوات
وای حسین وای حسین وای حسین وای حسین وای حسین وای حسین وای وای حسین وای حسین وای حسین یا حسین غریب مادر توی ارباب دل من یا حسین غریب مادر توی ارباب دل من یه گوشه چشم تو بسته واسه حل مشکل من یه گوشه چشم تو بسته واسه حل مشکل من یه روزم میاد آقا جون که منم عبد تو باشم چشم و موقع مریم زیر پات گذاشته باشم چشم و موقع مریم زیر پات گذاشته باشم تموم مردم دنیا ما رو میخونن دیوونه تموم مردم دنیا ما رو میخونن دیوونه آره ما دیوونه هستیم بی خیال این زمونه آره ما دیوونه هستیم بی خیال این زمونه یل کربلا ابوالفضل قربونمون قد و بالات یل کربلا قربون اون قد و بالات قربون دستای نازت فدای خشکی لبات یا بلفز یا بلفز
یا بلفز یا بلفز رو به قبله بسمک العظیم العظم الاجل الاکرم بق امام زین العابدین علیه السلام یا الله 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 5 مرتبه انشاءالله این آیه را جهت تعجیل در ظهور امام زمان بخوانیم اعوذ بالله من الشیطان الرجیم اما یجیب المضطر اذا دعا و یکشف السوء 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 پروردگارا فرج امام زمان ما برسان جان تاریک ما با وجودش روشن بگردان اموات این جمع غریق رحمت بگردان اونایی که التماس دعا گفتن هر حاجت دارن حاجتشون را برآورده خیر بگردان خدایا مولای ما را بر ما برسان اینایی که عزاداری کردن سینه زدن فراشی کردن گوش دادن هر حاجت دارن حاجتشون را برآورده خیر بفرما انشاءالله همه با هم سلام نامه میخوانیم بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم السلام علیکم یا رسول الله یا امیر المؤمنین یا فاطمه الزهرا یا حسن ابن علی و یا حسین ابن علی و علی ابن الحسین و محمد ابن علی و جعفر ابن محمد و موسی ابن جعفر و علی الرضا و محمد ابن علی و علی ابن محمد و الحسن ابن علی و الخلف الصالح المهدی علیه السلام السلام على جميع شهداء كربلاء خسن والفضل العباس والأسر زينب الكبرى ورحمة الله وبركاته بر محمد وآل بيت محمد صلوات عزیزان توجه داشته باشن که روز سه‌شنبه که دعای شب دعای توسل هست از طرف خانواده علی شاه همه شما دعوت هستین انشالله در همین مکان مقدس به خاطر اول ماه سفر یا دوم ماه سفر ورود اهل بیت به شام انشالله مراسم عزاداری همینجا از ساعت 7:30 انشالله دعای توسل خوانده میشه. بعد از دعای توسل انشالله نماز و عزاداری انشالله خواهد بود. دوستان انشالله تشریف بیارن، هم مردانه است و هم زنانه. بر محمد آل بیت محمد سلام.